From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm Steve Norman reporting. White House saying President Trump was briefed on the latest North Korean missile test, which landed in the Sea of Japan early today. Mr. Trump soon tweeted that North Korea had disrespected the wishes of China and that the launch was, in his words, bad. Meantime, North Korea's missile and nuclear programs were the topic of discussion at the United Nations Security Council. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson chaired that meeting. He said Washington would not rule out a military response to future North Korean aggression. And Chinese Foreign Minister Wang warned that the situation with North Korea is at a critical point. He said China is not directly involved in the Korea Peninsula nuclear issue, nor does it hold the key to solving the issue. Tillerson has said the U.S. was counting on Beijing for its help. Pope Francis is making a historic visit to Egypt.
Il coraggio dell'alterità, secondo, perché chi è differente da me.
And holding a series of meetings in Cairo with Egypt's religious and political leaders, the Pope said everyone should seek to find the good in everyone else, even though they may be in opposition to one another. While in Cairo, Pope Francis will participate in an international peace conference. The Emir of the Islamic State in Afghanistan is likely dead, targeted in a US-Afghan raid on a cave-in tunnel complex that left 2 U.S. Special Operation Forces soldiers dead. Officials said another 35 IS fighters were also killed, and the dead U.S. soldiers might have been the victims of friendly fire. This is VOA News. France's far-right National Front, that is the party of presidential candidate Marine Le Pen, has replaced its leader for the second time in 3 days. It's seen by many as a blow to Le Pen's campaign, who faces a runoff with centrist rival Emmanuel Macron on May the 7th. Macron is expected to win that runoff. Venezuela's ambassador to the Organization for American States, Samuel Moncada, has defended Venezuela's decision to leave the OAS and blamed the U.S. for Caracas having to make that decision.
Coercion is forbidden in international relations. All these principles are being broken or violated by the United States. The United States is the head and the commander of this plot against Venezuela.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's government announced the decision to withdraw from the OAS after a brief but contentious OAS session here in Washington, in which representatives voted to convene a special meeting of the region's foreign ministers to evaluate Venezuela's crisis. Anti-government marches there have turned violent, leaving at least 29 people dead, more than 400 others wounded and injured. Latest political concerns there, lots of woes for Venezuela. Its once thriving oil-based economy has collapsed under the drop in energy prices, inflation, and failed socialism. President Trump has defended the right to gun ownership in the U.S. while appearing before 10,000 delegates at a National Rifle Association gathering.
You have a true friend and champion in the White House. No longer will federal agencies be coming after law-abiding gun owners.
The gun rights issue has become highly polarizing in the U.S., particularly after a string of gun-related massacres around the country, including assaults on schools. President Trump, who supported tougher gun restrictions before he entered the political arena, noted that he was the only candidate during last year's presidential campaign to address the NRA. The People's Climate March will take place around the world today. Here in Washington, scientists, religious groups, advocates for low-income people of color, labor unions, anti-corporate activists, and many more plan to march through the city center to the White House. They condemn President Trump's support for fossil fuels and his disdain for the dangers of climate change. Demonstration comes a week after the March for Science drew crowds of researchers and science enthusiasts at more than 600 locations worldwide. Get more news on the VOA mobile app.
That's the latest world news from VOA.